Welcome to the Conscious Parenting Show. Thank you for tuning in and choosing to become a more mindful parent. After all, your child deserves the best of you. And now, here's to your host, Geetika Mrig.
Hello and welcome back to the second episode of the Conscious Parenting Show. Thank you for joining us again. In the first episode, we spoke about conscious parenting being about the parents and not about the child. The ability to be mindful in that very moment allows your child to express themselves and feel accepted. What else would you want for your child? So, without any further delay, let us meet our guest for today. You guys are in for a treat, as it is my privilege to welcome the dynamic Sheila Mathilakath on the show today. She's an internationally certified trainer and a life coach with a major passion to help people realize the power of living a life of purpose and joy. Sheila is also the author of the best-selling book I Complete Me, which is actually nominated for the Author Academy Award New York. She is also the founder of Luminary 24 and has trained with the likes of T. Harvicker, Blair Singer, Neil Donald Walsh, Nick Otner and many more. These are only a few of her specialities, and she has been my mentor and guide and a wonderful friend for the past 7 years. Welcome to the Conscious Parenting Show, Sheila.
I'm so excited for your podcast, Geetika, and I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so happy you're here. So, the show is about conscious parenting. So, you've worked with kids and elders as well. I wanted to know from you, what does conscious parenting mean to you and why is it important in this day and age?
So conscious parenting, as a term suggests, is just parenting with a lot of awareness. You know, most of us treat our children like our property. And like Khalil Gibran says, you know, your kids are not your kids. They come through you, but not for you. And this is really so true. But we forget all that when we have a child and when we have our children. One of the things that we do is we immediately adopt them and try to live our lives through them and for them. Now, that is unfair both for the parents as well as for the child. So, conscious parenting is just about living with awareness and treating a child as an individual with their own dreams, with their own likes, with their own dislikes.
That's so beautiful, Sheila. But why do you think that, parents feel that pressure? I mean, we've seen so many parents, and I'm sure in your work, you would also come across so many parents who would want to be under the pressure of making an engineer one day, their child a doctor one day. Why do you think parents feel so much pressure?
You know, we are all conditioned to live a life of conformity. Like Earl Nightingale says so beautifully, he says the opposite of courage is not cowardice. The opposite of courage is conformity. And right from school days, we are taught to conform, wear the same uniform, write the same answers, speak the same way, wear the same pigtails, cut your hair the same way. And you grow up learning to conform and not really living our own selves. So, it's a very sad life when you learn to fit in and not really stand out. We learn our parenting skills from our parents. No parent comes with a manual, right? The child comes in, but no manual is downloaded at the same time. So when we learn our parenting styles from our parents and we decide to do exactly like our parents or become exactly opposite to our parents, which is why you find parents who were born to really strict parents, they are either very strict with their kids or they're very lenient. Now kids need boundaries. They need to know how to understand their potential and explore their potential, but they don't need dictatorship. They don't need control. We have to let kids be themselves. Now the thing is that I have so many kids who come to me for coaching, and one of the things that I notice over there is they've all been pushed into various professions by their parents. Parents are doing it for their kids. They feel that their children have to be settled. We have this idea that we all need to settle in life. I believe only mud settles. We have to fly.
Wow.
So we need to learn how to unleash our dreams, unleash our potential.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Sheila, you've also been an inner child healer. Why do adults really need inner child healing?
This actually is a part of really another huge podcast. But to speak in short, while growing up, if you notice a child is filled with joy. the inner child that we all have a child inside of us. In fact, we have many, many parts of our own childhood within us, and all of them, the best parts are filled with joy, where we explore our creativity, where we can access our intuition and our possibilities. But sometimes, because of the trauma that we go through in childhood, and those traumas are not really very huge, they can be small traumas. It can be simple things like you were crying, your mother was busy with another sibling and took time to come to you. You start feeling that probably your mother doesn't love you as much as your other sibling. It can be as small as your father comes home from work and he's very angry. You learn to be very quiet and silent, and you realize that maybe this is how I have to be if my father has to like me. So these are very small traumas, but of course there are really big traumas where children have been abused, they've been abandoned, they've been rejected, and they've been molested. And all these traumas stay within us. And as a child, when these things, small things or big things happen to you, you start learning to cope. And these are your coping skills. So what happens is, instead of being filled with joy or passion or creativity, we start feeling hurt. We start hiding ourselves. We are afraid to be visible. We are afraid to stand out, and we conform. And we parent our kids in exactly the same way.
So from what I'm hearing, Sheila, this sounds like a lot of pressure on parents to be able to, put the right amount of salt in their child and the right amount of pepper, and not letting it mix too much or too little. But how do parents cope up with this? This must be so hard.
Most parents do not know any of these, right? Now people are becoming aware that, when you start healing your inner child, you start healing everyone outside of you. And you don't really need to correct your child, you need to correct yourself. You need to, once you course correct and you start doing the healing work for yourself, you can heal 7 generations in front of you and 7 generations behind you. So every parent should focus on actually healing themselves. Now when I say the word heal, there are a lot of parents who come and say, oh, you know what, we are not unwell, we are not sick. Of course you're not sick, but there are certain traumas that you've gone through. And every one of us go through trauma. Even those people who say we've had the best childhood, you find as they speak that there are certain things which are holding them back. And once you start looking at them and healing them, and you realize that you're coming from a place of your wounds, you will be able to parent much better.
Wow. So what you're trying to say is that parents need to work on themselves to have a happy and healthier child.
Yes.
Okay, so Sheila, you have 2 kids who are now grown up.
Yes.
How have you used conscious parenting in bringing them up?
Oh, I have not. All this knowledge that I have today, I didn't have when my kids were born. And especially with my eldest child, I did a traditional parenting where I wanted her to do all the things that I never got a chance to do. For instance, I overscheduled her and she used to go for music lessons and painting lessons and skating lessons, and I thought she was so gifted, and I just wanted to push her in the direction of what I thought were her dreams. Mm-hmm. And when she was, when she was just 12 years old, one of the things that she said, and we were having this huge argument about her not going for skating classes, and she told me, Mom, you have to stop pushing your expectations onto me. And that really stopped me in my tracks.
12-year-old, huh?
When she was 12 years old. I tried to be a lot more conscious with my second child, because by that time I started moving into this field and I started learning. Of course I slipped up, and I think that's okay. But it took me a long time to reach this stage of acceptance. And now I know that they have imbibed all the good things that I have said, but I see that there are certain wounds they have from whatever, the way that I parented. But I think they will get rid of it in their therapy.
So what I hear you say, Sheila, is that it's okay to slip up?
Absolutely. And forgive yourself if you make a mistake. Yeah. We are humans. You're not a Robocop.
I think parenting is in general a very hard thing to do when you have a responsibility of being human.
Yes.
And you're shaping their life. So as we know, Sheila's one big tip is it's okay to slip up, but forgive yourself.
Yeah.
So let's move on to last new question that we have is, Sheila, what are the things that parents can do in their day-to-day lives? Nothing very overwhelming, very simple things, changes that they can make in their life while they're interacting with their kids that can make their life and their child's life easier.
Okay. So this what I'm going to say is from my experience of working with lots of kids, listening to their stories and how they would have liked their parents to behave with them, and of course the gyan that my kids keep giving me constantly and how I should be parenting them. So one of the things is, let your kid be. Don't compare your kid with any other kid. I hear that so often. The kids feel that they're not good enough because their parents are always comparing them to their neighbor's child or a cousin or a brother's child.
One of those infamous Sharma ji ka beta.
Yes. So comparison actually diminishes the spirit of the child, because every person is unique. Right. Just like you shouldn't compare your child to someone else's kid, you shouldn't compare your parenting style to anyone else's style. So let go of comparison on all levels. That is the biggest tip that I can give you. The second thing is, don't try to live your dreams through your child. Your child comes with their own dreams and their own talents.
Right.
Let them be. Of course, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't correct them when they're wrong, but you don't need to control them. This happens, you used the term last time, helicopter parents.
Right.
It happens. I've been a helicopter parent myself, and I know it is so damaging to the child. Where the child, there are two things that can happen. One, the child grows very rebellious and goes completely out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
But the second thing that happens is the child then doesn't have its own point of view.
Right.
And you always have to go into the world having your own opinions and being able to speak up and stand up for yourself. Like I said right in the beginning, we don't need to make our children fit in. We have to teach them how to stand up and stand out.
How beautiful. That's so beautiful, Sheila. So would you like to give our listeners a homework for this week? Like last week I gave them a homework for them to be conscious about their actions. This week would you like to give them a homework?
Oh yes. This is a very popular homework that I give. It's very popular with the kids and it's very unpopular with the parents.
Okay. So this is for you parents?
Yeah. So parents, every time you catch your child doing something wrong, don't comment on it. Wow. Catch your child doing something right.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's going to be exciting and very tough for you, parents?
Yeah.
So glad to have this chat, Sheila, with you. I'm so happy to get this point of view, and I hope our listeners feel that they've taken something good out of this conversation. Thank you for being on this show. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Geetika.